Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Next Goal Wins. We are back with Pago Youth. Now we are into our third full year. I'm doing this by yearly episodes because there's such short seasons. And we need to talk about many things. There are some different stuff that's been happening this year. I've kind of worked out a method as to how to hang on to players. For a start, now that we are the champions, it is proving much more easy. People are more willing to stay at the club because of the reputation. We are now the most reputable team on the island, although I think we were before anyway. But now as the champions, we have O-League qualification, and players do want to play in that. So most of the time, players are not accepting contracts from other teams, and most of the time, they are accepting our contracts. So essentially, I've just gone around and hoovered up any talent on the island, essentially. That was the plan. Just hoover up anyone that looks vaguely decent, try to build a team out of them, and try to get some money from somewhere. And in fact, I think let's just have a look at our financial situation. As you can see, the balance of the club now is 85 grand. Sorry, 85 grand? Nearly 89 grand, which is not bad, considering what we started with and what a lot of other clubs in this league are probably suffering with. Our projections is projected to increase quite a bit at the moment. We could be looking at some decent money. I say decent money. Very small amounts of money for most football teams. But for this team, it could mean a lot. It could be the difference between us being amateur and semi-professional. And that's a change that we really do need to make. The moment that we become semi-professional is the moment that the domination of this league becomes complete. I mean, we have won the league the last 2 seasons, as you can see. We've won it this year as well. But there's always the chance that we could still slip up. Whereas if we became semi-professional, no one would be able to touch us because we'd be able to sign players and pay them. We'd also then be able to compete and bring players in from abroad, potentially. Who knows? Our scouting range is just American Samoa, and that's it. So it's a little bit difficult at the moment. Our main task this year, really, other than winning the league again, and hopefully winning the cup again, since the board are insistent upon the 2 things, was to somehow try and get through to the O-League's main group stages. But we'll talk about that in a minute, but you can see that highlighted anyway, so you can probably kind of work out what happened in those games anyway. We had our first game of the season actually started off incredibly well. We started at home to Vieja Tongan, and we thumped them 5-1. I mean, we really did dominate this game. And obviously with people retiring or getting old, people were declining, so we couldn't use Yafeta up front this season. He sort of was a third choice striker behind Kangan. And our new man, Pessamino Salapu. And my God, this lad has had a hell of a season for us. Scored 4 on the opening day of the season. We were 5-0 up before they even got involved in this game. And I was a little bit pissed that we even conceded 1 goal in this one because we really should have done better. And when I saw that, I figured, right, that's our season. We're going to keep winning games. And then we went to the next game away at Lionheart. Pretty much the same kind of thing happened. Salapu actually didn't get on the score sheet in this one, despite us scoring 4 goals from Patti Amasoni, who is another player I've brought in who has a lot of potential and was very hard to get hold of. He was one of the few that was actually determined to stay with his old club. Eventually, had enough persistence, and me asking him over and over again, he did eventually join us. And he's done well this season, assist-wise especially. Goals from Pessamino Molipola, who has a great season as well. Richie Falemawa, Patti Amasoni, and Dwayne Silau gave us the win comfortably, which is what we needed. And being, top of the league at this point, 9 goals scored, 2 conceded, perfect start. We then, unfortunately, games come very thick and fast, and the problem with that is you get tired. And as a result of that tiredness, we had to put out a change side against Black Roses, and we were beaten at home. I still think we were the better side, as you can see. We still dominated the game, but we just got caught, and Salapu picks up an injury. It wasn't a serious injury, and he was back by the time the international break finished. It then gave us a nice, relatively huge cushion, 3 weeks I think it was in between the games, before we got to play Utele. Of course we had international duty, and I will show you the international games. In fact, I'll show you them now, because there were only 4 international games the entire time, and they all came in very quick succession. So we're just going to take a little look now. They all came very shortly after that. It was the Pacific Games, and I don't know what's up with this national team. There's all kinds of weird things, like picking players for the national team is a pain in the arse. What I may do in future for the there is another tournament coming up, I can't remember, I think it's the Island Games or something like that we get to play in, that starts in 2016. So we look forward to that. But my hope is that I'm just going to pick the entire Pago Youth team, because by then we should have the best players on the island. And if I can pick them, then I'll know that they're going to be good. And maybe that will be how we start just dominating. We're never going to dominate. I don't know. It's hard. That's more of a future one. First, my plan is to dominate domestically and then try and work that way into some kind of international setting. It's really hard to know what to do at the moment. But we had some poor games. Against Vanuatu, we were very, very poor. I mean, they scored an own goal. That was our... No, we scored an own goal, my bad. Against Kiribati, yeah, Fraser Ulata got us a goal. We did score in 2 of our games against Kiribati and New Caledonia, but we were battered. We weren't even coming close to these teams, and Kiribati aren't even part of FIFA. We just, yeah, got taken apart by them as well. And then obviously we had a friendly against New Zealand later on in the year, and didn't do as badly as I was expecting. We only lost 4-1, and did actually manage to score against New Zealand, so that wasn't so bad. But the national team wasn't many fixtures, so that's something maybe that we'll talk about more in the next episode, where I think there's going to be a lot more fixtures, because it's the OFC Nations Cup, I think, is the competition that we are in soon. In fact, I think I saw it there. OFC Nations Cup. Yeah, here we go. So we've got Fiji, Papua New Guinea and Vanuatu. It doesn't start till May next year, so it's quite a way off, but we'll just have to see. I think you can actually gain qualification to the Confederations Cup by winning this. Yeah, that'd be quite something. That's how Tahiti got into it and got beaten about 30-0 by Spain, if you remember. But anyway, back to the domestic form, which is kind of what we're talking about at the moment, because the Champions League is a real possibility for us. Or that's certainly the one thing we can compete on. Against Utale, we didn't destroy them. We actually had quite a comfortable win, with Salapu getting on the score sheet again, and Naua as well. We then followed that up with a win over our closest rivals, who had also got... Well, they'd actually won all 4 games so far. They'd won 4 in a row. They were top of the league at this point, and we beat them, and that's the key, to get one over on them and put ourselves in a real strong position. Then we had a game against Tafuna Jets away from home, and we smashed them. They were the favourites joint with us for the title this year, and they ended up getting relegated. They came bottom, and I think they lost their first 9 or 10 games of the season, but we'll have a look when we show you the table in a bit. Then we went straight on to FC SKBC, and as usual, a 4-2, 5-2, 4-1. Lots of goals in these games against them. We just can't seem to avoid it. And we won this time. We did manage to put one over on them away from home, which I believe we failed to do last year, so that was a good bonus. And look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 wins from our first 7 games. I think we actually got 1 less point than we did at this stage last season, surprisingly. But it was the second half of the season last year when things started to fall apart for us. We still won the league comfortably, but we did lose a couple of games, draw a couple here and there, still won the league. This year, as you can see, nothing happened on those sorts at all. Second half of the season was virtually flawless. We nearly won every single game except for this one against Tafuna Jets. But next year, I'm hoping to go for an unbeaten season, because I think I've got an achievement to unlock for that one too, which would be nice. We then obviously had to have the cup games against Via Tongan, which we won 4-2. They are in our league though, and Salapu managed to score himself another 3 goals, so he has got some serious goals for us this year, and you'll see that on the stats. Then we had the all-important games. This was the O-League games, and bear in mind, Nikau are from the Cook Islands, and they were the favourites for the group. They almost always qualify out of this group, and to beat them 5-2, and frankly, look at that. 8 shots, 6 on target, 9 shots, 6 on target. We scored 5 goals against them, and Molly Puller, despite playing on the right wing, managed to score 4 goals for us. And our other winger, Sinipati on the left, got the other one. So it was a truly brilliant performance. And yeah, I wish we hadn't conceded a couple of goals to them, because goal difference could come important. In fact, it proved to be incredibly important when I show you the table. We then had a really poor one. The games were so close. There's 2 days in between the games, which meant that we were knackered, and I had to try and put out a side that looked a little bit like we wanted to be in the game. And unfortunately, we ended up getting 3 injuries in that game. In fact, not only that, but we got both of our fullbacks injured. We brought on a fullback to replace the fullback, and then he had to go off injured. We substituted a substitute, and then they scored a free kick a few minutes from time, and that left us in a real sticky spot because they won their first game. And that left us in a situation whereby in our last game, if we won, we could go through, but only if Nikau beat the team from Tonga, Lotoha Apai, only if Nikau beat them. If there was any other result, then we'd go out. Our goal difference was the best, and that was the key here. But we'd only go through on goal difference, and it would be damn tight. You'd have 3 teams tied on 6 points, basically, and then 1 on 0. We did our part. We managed to win 3-0, with Mulipula scoring 3 again in this one as well, and Kangan getting the other one. But the question is, what happened in the other one? Well, let's see. We did it. Just barely. By the skins of our teeth, we've scraped through. Admittedly, our goal difference was vastly superior, so the moment that result came in, that they managed to turn it around, because they were trailing at half-time in that game. Not at half-time, they went behind, and I didn't see them equalise, so when that goal went in, I was very, very happy, because we were already quite far ahead. No, we were actually only goal up at that point. We sort of kicked on a bit in the second half, which was great. Also like to point out that our winger, Molipola, scored 7 goals in those 3 games, and he had an absolute belting performance. We've been drawn into a group with AS Tefana from Tahiti, who are a semi-professional team, Nadi from Fiji, who are amateur, so you never know, and Watakere United, who are from New Zealand. They are semi-professional, but these guys, look at their record. They've won it. They've won this division. They've won this competition before, and only 1 team qualifies. I'm guessing what usually happens is that, since there's only 3 groups, the winner goes through, and possibly the best runner-up of the 3 groups. I think the only chance we've got of getting through this is to get the best runner-up spot. We're not expected to. We weren't even expected to get out of the group, the preliminary group, but we did. So we'll just have to see what we can do. We don't expect to do that this year, although of course it isn't even going to be this season. These games aren't until April. That's how far away it is. This is for the league we won last year, last December's league. We don't get to actually play in this stage because we got through for 18 months, which is why it's just as well that we've managed to qualify for the Champions League again this year, just to make sure of that. We're going to qualify for it every year now, and hopefully win everything every year, just to keep building the prize money, because the cup is worth 10 grand. I'm hoping that we can get some money from being in this stage, and that is key, because that's what's going to allow us to become semi-professional. We're not expecting to get out. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we finished bottom of the group this year. But the point is, we're there. We got there, and we're going to start using it as it's just baby steps. This series could take 20 years. Who knows? But that's only 20 episodes, so think about it like that. It's just a lot more time in my world, but in your time, it's probably not that much more. If there's any massively important games, I might show you some highlights of them, because just to speed things up, not to speed things up, to make it a bit more interesting, but at the same time, I also don't want to take up too much time in the episode. I will now show you the league. We won it by 14 points in the end. We were completely dominant. I didn't realise actually how dominant we were until I look at this table right now. Tafuna Jets did actually manage to win a game in the end, but they still finished dead last, not even close. We were 14 points clear. In fact, nobody really could come near us. Our goal difference was huge. Next year I really do want to have an unbeaten season, and then maybe the year after that go for a completely flawless record of 14 wins out of 14. Go for the, how many points would that be? Let's see. 42 points would it be? I think it'd be 42 points. That's the most we could possibly attain, I think. Yeah, 42. So I want to try and get that. We got the top assist with Patti Amasoni, who, yeah, his stats might look pretty horrific, but for us, he is a 5.5-star player with a lot of potential, and he's only 17. He could genuinely be very, very good for us. Who knows where he could actually go? It's really hard to tell, because all of our players have got relatively decent rankings now. It's hard to tell which ones are going to be turning into superstars. Probably none of them, because our youth ranking is so poor, but who knows? Pesmino Salapu obviously got the average rating score the highest. He also scored 14 league goals in 14 games, although I don't know even if he played 14 games. I'm pretty certain he missed a couple. Let's have a look at the stats, so you can decide for yourselves who was the best player. We need to go for stats, and we want overall. Most appearances for us this year was, well, our goalkeeper, Mapusua. 21 appearances, which is quite a lot in a season that only has 14 games. That means he played every single game for us. All 4 cup games and all 4 continental matches. Top goal scorer, 17 goals in 18 appearances for Salapu. Great performance from him. But Molly Poller also got 11 goals in 11 games, so you can't fault him either. Top assists, Dwayne Sillau, who did that great work for us last season as well. It's a shame he couldn't put in as many assists in the league this year, which is why Amasoni was the top assister. Most man of the matches, well, that was obviously going to be shared between the two. Pass percentage, well, Absurd, obviously, but look at this. We've got some players that are above 85%, which is very, very decent. Average rating, Mulipula, 7.88 in all competitions. Salipu, pretty decent. So that's where we are right now. We are bringing in a couple more players. I will just show you if I can. I don't know if this is actually going to show you. We've got, well, as you can see, we've got a lot of players coming, but most of them came in that transfer window. We lost a few, they came out, they came in, they came out. It's just one of those things that happens. Future transfers, we've got this guy, James Uitala, who, of course, is pretty crap, but lots of potential. And I've been signing a few just for potential reasons. And Mulipola, lots of those people called Mulipola. He, unfortunately, if you can train him right, he might have something. Albert Luvu, though, again, same kind of issue. We're just picking up players at the moment. If I see anyone that's decent, I bring them in. But for the moment, I think we've pretty much got all the best players on the island. Every time my scout shows me a player with a couple of stars of actual ability in an area and a position, most importantly, that we can play, I just bring them straight in because there's no point in faffing around with this situation. That pretty much sums up the way we've been playing, and that pretty much sums up this year. Now, in the next episode, you will see just how well we do in the Champions League, as well as how well we do in the league and the cup and probably the next season's Champions League. Presumably we get through the preliminary rounds again. I'd like to think we could get through a little bit more comfortably this time, but who knows, really. Our team could get worse. There are people retiring. Who knows? I will see you in the next episode. If you've liked what you've seen, hit the like button. If you liked it even more than that, hit that big old subscribe button. But until next time, bye-bye.